All right, we're live. That's it.
Hello!
There's no intro. It's nothing. Just go live.
Welcome everyone to Roll for Combat Live, where we have no intro and we just go live.
We just go
But that
live.
was an intro. Is that like a paradox?
I don't know if I guess that's the intro. So it's just us because everyone is busy. Are you busy, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, you and I are always busy too, but we can always make time to meet with people and chat here on Roll for Combat Live.
I'm always busy. That's all I do is be busy. It's my whole life. Speaking of being busy, I'm going to be at Origins next week,
It's gonna be
and
fun.
um, I'll be there. Kelsey Dion will be there. Obviously, all the Knights of Last Call will be there. So if you're going to be there, actually, I'm not in the chat. If anyone's going to be there, let me know in chat. And it's such a small con. You'll find me. It's not like Gen Con. Gen Con, you could easily miss someone, but Origins is pretty small. Like you'll see someone, you'll be like, oh hey, and then after you bump into them for the 800th time on the third day, you're like, okay, yeah, hi, for the 800th time. No, seriously, because it's not that big. It's just not that big. That actually
They'll
even
just be
happened.
like, "Go away, Stephen. This is like the 800th time."
Well, that actually even happened in Gen Con because I kept bumping into the same people over and over again. I'd be like, well, Indestructo Boy.
Mhm.
I kept seeing him. Like, first I'm like, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. And then I saw him like my 50th time. I was like, hey. Oh my God, I just kept seeing him. Well, he's also very tall, so he's easy to find.
There you go.
But, oh yeah, I can't believe it's in a week. It's like, it is crazy. I can't believe that every week for me goes by so fast. I don't know if that's your life, but for me, and Wednesday is the delineation between like after the show's over, then it's like up time to go live. I mean, time to like finish up the week because we do this and then it's night, and then I have Thursday and Friday to finish up the week. So
I think that's true for me as well. Like Wednesday is like the kind of like halfway time.
hmm so all right. So today's show, I have a couple of new things I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do some new segments that no one even knows about.
Even I don't. Steven rarely tells me about these
I won't
things.
tell you anything because I'm a bad host. So I'm gonna give, well, I'll tell you why, because people liked some of the recommendations we gave last week for video games, and I'm watching and two things and listening to two things that I think everyone here would really enjoy. So I'm gonna tell them all about it because I think you would. So the first thing is there is a podcast out right now uh, called When We Were Wizards, an oral history of Dungeons and Dragons. It's really interesting. They spoke to everyone, and I mean everyone who's still alive, about the very beginnings of D&D, and they are covering things you might not have heard about before, but some of it is pretty fascinating. Like, I didn't even know this. Like, do you know that Gary Gygax named his mansion Dragonlance in like
I did not
1975?
know that.
Neither did I. That's where it comes from. He was so poor that in 1 year they were talking about he was so poor and had five kids that he made $800 for the entire year of like 1970. It's like 1970 or 1 or 72. Think about that. That's it. That's what they made. That was their tax return, was $800 on with five kids. So he went from that to literally making $1 million, every 3 months. Back in the 70s, that's like 4 million. Like he was really raking it in. And then they eventually moved to this mansion he named Dragonlance. So it's interesting to hear how they went from rags to riches. And what's also fascinating is hearing how I'll tell you, this is the thing you're going to find interesting, Mark, is that the people at TSR were paid slave wages, and not even slave, like they were all in poverty. They were all legally in poverty. That's how poorly they were being paid. And what they would do is that they would give
I did hear that the pay was extremely terrible.
But this is like, it puts it in perspective of how
it was not a living wage.
Yeah, it was not a living wage back in the 70s. And what they would do is that they would give you royalties based on your game. And so they tried to make it the old, well, you get paid garbage, but if you come up with really interesting things, then, you'll get like 10% of the sales. And because that's how Gary made most of his money, because he got 10% of everything that D&D made. So other people, if they did Boot Hill or Gamma World or so forth. So that's why they tried to do this competition in the company. But eventually that, you couldn't do that anymore, because once D&D exploded, suddenly everyone was doing D&D, and then there was massive competition, and they just had to start paying everyone like real salaries because they were going to get hired away. And just FYI, I remember this happened. So after World of Warcraft launched, I don't know if I ever told you this, Mark. I'll tell you an interesting story. So after World of Warcraft launched, almost about 20 years ago, I think it was 2004. Yeah, 2004. Right after it launched, and it was just, they thought maybe they would sell 1 million copies if they were lucky, and that's when they sold like 12 million. And they were making so much money they didn't know. It was one of those like overnight successes, like they didn't know what to do. Is that NetEase, right down the street, was it NetEase? I think it was NetEase, went to World, and everyone was getting paid garbage. Okay, like people at World of Warcraft, designers were getting paid like $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. That's it. And they were working, like 18-hour days, 7 days a week. And here's this game that's making $1 billion, and they were promised bonuses based on how well it did, which is one of those, oh, we'll do that. But I'll tell you, once it starts doing really well, people don't like paying out those bonuses.
It's like the producers, right? It's the scam of the producers, where they took more money than they needed to make the play because they promised more than 100% of the profits out, expecting it to fail.
Well, it's not exactly that, but more like
different, because they didn't expect it to fail, but they did expect that they wouldn't do well enough for the bonus to be an outrageous amount of money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what happened is NetEase came around and literally went to World of Warcraft developers and said, we will triple your salary. And everyone, and I mean everybody, left.
So when you mean everybody, you mean that literally no one was left
there was
World of Warcraft.
A skeleton team. John Stats stayed. And
so everybody except John Stats left.
Except for a few core people left, because they were promised. But I mean, put yourself in your shoes. You're killing yourself. You're getting paid $50,000 a year, and you're living in Irvine, California, one of the most expensive places to live on planet Earth. And you're killing yourself, and this game comes out, and because you're there, you can do the math. You're like, oh, this thing is literally making $1 billion a month, $1 billion. And where's my bonus? I just want my $20,000 bonus. Right. Well, we gotta wait. We gotta see what the numbers are. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's like, these are freaking rounding errors, and they're just like, hemming and hawing on giving out a bonus and giving out extra. And so they're like, oh yeah, we quit. like either give it or we quit. And they all quit. They literally all quit. I don't know if you remember that. It's like after World of Warcraft came out, because they didn't really
not know that.
They didn't finish levels like 40. Remember, like level 40, 50 to 60 was kind of not done, especially 50s. Like the 50s was not done. They just launched it. There was nothing. You had to literally grind just to get to level 60 because there was no real content.
So by the time I joined for my school project at MIT, there was content to get to level 60, but there wasn't a lot. It was fairly early on, but it wasn't the very beginning.
They didn't have enough content because they didn't finish it. They basically finished it to around the 40s, and back then the top max level was 60. So around the 40s.
Yeah, when I played, it was still 60.
Yeah, it really got skimpy, and they just didn't finish it. And after everyone left, there was basically no development on the game for a year and a half because they had to just fix bugs and like ramp up. And like so, I'll tell you another example. How about this? This one's crazy. This one's even crazier. Are you ready? My friend got a job at Acer. Do you remember Acer? And he was joining a division of 12 people. It was 12 people, and he was doing things in kind of the call center. It's like he did like call center stuff. The first day he gets there, of the 12 people, all 12 were hired by a competitor, and they all quit.
So wait, he was alone, or was he one of the 12 people?
Day.
Was he hired by a competitor too, or just the other 12?
He was the only one there. So
no one could train him because...
so the Acer freaked out. They kept one person. Literally one person. So they went from a team of 12 where they hired someone else, so they'd have to be a team of 13 down to a team of 2. And that's his
Holy
first
moly.
day. So you know what he did? He goes up to them and goes, well, I want a 300% raise. And I want, like, he gave them this list. Like, I'm like, I will do the job. I will stay here. I will do the job of these 12 people. And you are going to now pay me 300% more and give me a phone. And he got it. He got everything he wanted. Everything. And I remember this is one of my best friends at the time. And I was just like, I can't. He was crazy. So these type of stories are not uncommon. I mean, I'm just naming 2 off the top of my head that happened to people I know. So I just think it's really interesting to listen to this When We Were Wizards, because you think how hunky-dory and everyone loves each other and everyone's getting along. And God, it was so not that. It was so everyone infighting, everyone like fighting over money and titles and who...
I definitely knew about that from some other histories. I did not know that he named his property Dragonlance, but I knew some of the rest of these stories.
Well,
those are ones that you hear about.
I knew it, but it's fascinating to listen to it from all these people. It's very good. So it's a podcast. It's called When We Were Wizards.
Okay. You said you have one more, but before we get into it, there's a super chat from Mark T that said, enjoy an adult beverage on me, Steven. I appreciate all you and Mark do. So excited for the mimic boxes.
Oh, I got one right here. They're still being made because they have to hand paint 1,000 of them. Hello. 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 It's all right. It's all right. Does anyone know what that's from? It's all right. It's all right. It's something from the 70s that only old people know about. Anyhow, definitely recommend that one. Oh, and how about this, Mark? I'll give you 1.5. There's a D&D 50th anniversary documentary, and I'm being interviewed for it.
Oh, wow.
There you go. At Gen Con. Because they wanted to find people who've been playing for a long time. And I'm like, baby, I got stories. I'm like, I can tell you a lot of stories from the 70s and the 80s. I can tell you all about my childhood, baby. I know. We got a lot. The other thing is, there is a documentary I'm basically doing documentaries on HBO called Ren Fair that just finished. So one of the oldest, if not the very first, professional Renaissance festivals is in Texas. And this is about this guy, is it Dave or Bob? It's King George. King George owns this Renaissance festival. And he's worth like over $100 million. like this Ren Fair is amazingly popular, and he makes millions off of it. He's 86 years old, and he plans on dying at 95. He's literally going to go to Norway and die because they will like kill you there for $10,000 or something. So his plan is so it's about running the Ren Fair and people trying to buy it from him. It's only 3 episodes, which is insane because the documentarians stayed with them for 3 years. Can you imagine 3 years of filming? And I think they could have easily gotten like 8 or 10 episodes. It's only 3 episodes, But it's worth watching. It's worth watching. It's fascinating. This guy, King George, he's something. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to ruin it, but wow. But it is interesting to see how people become experts at something and become so well known at something and become wrapped up in what they are. And then I'll put it this way. Imagine you worked at one job, or in this case, a Renaissance festival, your whole life. Like 30 years. Like, this is all you do. And on top of that, they do this thing like Disney where they own a town that basically everyone lives in, works at the Renaissance Festival. So it's like, if you work there, you basically live there too. So everyone is like, you're just stuck there forever. And then you get fired.
So is this the Texas Renaissance Festival?
Yes. So if you get fired, because they follow him and they follow like the people, like the players, like they follow like, 5-10 major people. And if you get fired after working a job or one place that pretty much is your identity for 35 years, what do you do?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Mr. Banana Head, his brother worked on the Ren Fair dock. Cool.
Oh, wow. There you go. Apparently, this is the largest Ren Fair in the U.S. based on attendance.
Yes.
It's more than a decade after the first Ren Fair. There were a bunch that came before, but it's the biggest, #1 in the U.S.
Yeah, and it's permanent. That's the other thing. Like, it's a permanent Renaissance festival. Like, it's really big. Anyhow, the point is that this guy's been doing it forever. He owns it, and like, now what? Like, what do you do with something like that? It's something. It's like almost Disney, or even I remember when Steve Jobs died. It's like, what happens to a company that's so closely identified with one person? And in a weird way, it does tie into the whole thing with WotC and TSR, because it was like for so long identified with Gary Gygax and him, and now what? So anyhow, I would recommend those two. Ren Fair, if you don't kill yourself. It's only 3 episodes. The bad news is it ends, and then you're like, wait, that's it? It just like ends out of nowhere. It's kind of a weird ending. Like, the first episode's good, the second episode's really good, the third episode literally just stops and it's just over. And they cut like a year. Like, they're literally like, oh, here it is, and then a year later. I'm like, wait, they just skipped an entire year? Like, in real life too. Because it starts in like 2021 and then they go up to like 2023, 2024. It's like, okay, that was quick. So there you go. Anyhow, are you watching or doing or reading anything interesting that people would find interesting?
Not as much. I told people on a previous episode a few games that I had played through, but I have not dug into another one real deep since I guess it was last week or the week before that when we chatted about that. There's been a lot to do when it comes to all the projects people do know about, including Battlezoo Bestiary, Elemental Storm, plus redacted secret project that you don't know about that is after that. So I'm probably going to want to chew into some game or something like that pretty soon when I get a better chance.
I drive a lot, so I listen to a lot of podcasts. So
that makes sense.
Whenever I'm driving, I throw in a podcast. So I'm Mr. Podcast. You can call me Sir Podcast. Okay, Sir Podcast a lot. How's that? Well, I got some news. Not a lot. There's not a lot of news. Are you ready to jump into the news?
Yeah, let's do this.
And I know we're gonna have a fight. You and I are gonna have a fight right about now.
Okay, here we go. I'm ready.
Are you ready? I'm not kidding. So the Diana Jones Awards for Excellent in Gaming, they came out, and
why are we gonna have a fight about that? Those were some good awards.
Okay, here's my problem with the awards. The finalists for the awards is, let's see, what are the finalists of the awards? The finalists on the awards are, they do what's called Excellence in Gaming. So they have a convention called Adepticon. Okay, a convention is getting a reward. There is Amy Bao, a game designer, owner of Pink Tiger Games. She's up for it. There's FanFest, a role-playing board game convention in Denmark. And then there is the TTRPG bundle for trans rights. And there is
United
Paizo Workers. So
it's a pretty eclectic group of options for the award.
Here's my issue. I am strongly against concepts, theories, or groups getting awards, or let me rephrase that. It should be its own category because there's so few awards for humans or individuals in this field that I don't think they shouldn't
get... I see what you're saying. You would want to have an individual versus a group award.
Yes.
So right now, Diana Jones has two things that it does. It has the Emerging Designer program, where where it's people such as Sen HHS, who's written for both Paizo and for Roll for Combat, has been in that one before.
Yes.
And then they also have Excellence in Gaming, which is kind of just it's one big fit-all award that could put just about anything into that award. It could give it to Peter Atkinson, who is a person, or the Board Game Dominion, just the entire Board Game Dominion, or a YouTube show.
Well, here
it gives it to a very, very broad group of people. You're right that it's not conceptually focused on one category. It could be almost anything that wins it.
In 2018, they gave it to the concept of actual play.
Yes.
I didn't like that.
That's true. The concept of actual play won it in 2018, and not any individual actual play.
I'm not against giving an award for a concept or idea, but look, they have two categories. Make a third one. Like make an award for individuals that can celebrate it, because I feel like by giving it to a convention, and I'm like, I don't know. I feel like this could have gone to a lot of people, especially in the last year. Think about after the OGL, how many new things came out. You got Kelsey Dion with Shadow Dark. There's just a lot that happened. And instead...
I see what you're saying.
It's just...
all of the ones of these that I'm aware of, which I'm not totally aware of, like the Denmark convention, for example, or the miniatures convention, all the ones that I'm aware of were very big deals that are on this list. However, I totally see what you're saying because, for example, Ami, the game designer who owns Pink Tiger Games, I don't know as much about that game designer as I do about, obviously, UPW, which I was in before I worked with you, and the TTRPGs for Trans Rights in Florida, which a current Paizo employee organized before being at Paizo. But I want to bet that whatever some of the details of Ami's work would have been easier for Ami to make it farther in the award if there was a category that was for individuals, and they didn't have to go up against sort of some big types, almost seismic shifts in the game industry, the first game industries union. And you know what? They might win it anyway, right? For Pink Tiger Games.
Well,
but it is true that they're very different, yes. And I see what you're saying. I do really respect the Diana Jones Awards. I have to admit that 2018 is the one that was just given to the concept of actual play. I feel like that's one that, to me, I feel like I'd rather it be something concrete. All of the ones this year were concrete. It wasn't just like the concept of miniatures conventions. It was
a
specific miniatures convention at the very least. But I get how if you open up the categories, you can wind up once you open that patient, you can wind up needing 30 or 40 categories before long, because wait a minute, now this doesn't cover this thing.
Yeah, but they even say she's the only person who got a nomination. Everything else is a concept or a thing. I'm like, I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way that I was actually kind of excited to see it, and I was like, really? And then here's the other thing. So Sen HHS got the award last year, and I asked her at Gen Con, I'm like, how'd you get it? She's like, I nominated myself. I was like, there you go. I was like, yeah, fair enough.
That's how a lot of those awards, someone will nominate themselves, and then if they get enough support and they did enough things, then they can get it.
I know. I didn't even bother nominating us this year. I don't even know.
I don't think that I don't think that we were as important as some of the things that are on here that I know a lot about. So I'm just going to assume the ones I don't know a lot about also did an equally large amount in spaces of the game industry that are not my scene. Like, for instance, playing board games in Denmark is not my thing, but I'm guessing they did something really big for that.
I guess. My point is, I don't know. It seems like there was a lot that happened in the past year. They had a lot of opportunity, a lot of things to choose from, and then they went in a very different direction. And oh well, I mean, it's a weird thing because if the awards are weird because if awards become too esoteric and too abstract and like they're awarding things that no one cares about, then no one cares about the award. You know, it's like, I
think there's a difference between saying that you could have categories that are for people versus organizations and whether or not someone cares about it. If anything, being able to put on an organization or an entire game makes it more likely that people would care about it. For example, Dominion.
Yes.
The game of Dominion, more people know what that is than they know Donald X. Vaccarino is the creator of the game of Dominion, because unfortunately for game designers out there, game designers' names are not something that most people remember. Not like actors or musicians or, I guess, athletes. Game designers, there are very few people who know what our names are. And you guys that do, because you're watching me on the stream.
That's the point. But this is one of the few times in, this is one of the only awards where game designers can get recognition. And
no, I'm not disagreeing with that. In fact, I can agree with you on that about having that category, but I think that your point that it makes it so that people will care about it more is kind of off. Because people probably do care about the other ones more because they're easier to remember than the name of a game designer, and you'll be like, oh yeah, that was a huge thing that happened.
Maybe we need to start our own award. We'll just do the Roll for Combat awards. Just screw it.
I mean, if you want to, it's a large commitment because what like Sen talked about, the self-nominating people, when you do an award, if people take you seriously on the award, they will send you their products and you have to review them.
I know.
And you have to be able to review them carefully and impartially through a large set of products that take a significant amount of time to decide which ones should be the winners of the awards. So it's work, but it is something that is worth doing, I think. Assuming that you're willing to put that much time into it.
Not all of them do it that way. There's a lot that are there's levels of awards. I'll leave it at that. So.
Okay, fair enough, Stephen. But I know you, and if you were doing an award, you would not want to create something that you would consider as a bad, low-tier award that was dubious. You would want an award that meant something that was a good level of an award.
We'll see.
Even if you told yourself you didn't, you would add on more so that it would become a great award, because that's just the way that you work.
True. Well, the Ennies, actually, it used to be Ian World who did it, and then he gave it up. He doesn't even do them anymore.
So it was it was connected, but always somewhat separate, with judges who were voted for. And in the Ennies, the voted in judges would be the first round, where they would go down from every single submission to like a few, and then public votes would decide past that point. That's basically how it used to work. I don't know what, if anything, changed in it since then.
So the other one in the news, and this actually was out last year, but now it's actually out or about to come out, comes out on August 1st. The D&D stamps are coming out.
Oh yeah, we talked about it when they first announced it.
So I don't know if you do this, but I actually have, so believe it or not, I don't know if they still do this, the post office will put out, and we did a whole story on like how much money the post office makes on commemorative stamps. And like Elvis was the first one that really made like just god awful amounts of money for the post office. And now it's
I think I remember that from the last time we talked about the stamps.
We did. That's when I talked about the whole history of these stamps, because I I don't know. When you listen to nothing but podcasts all day, I find out, I can tell you the history of weird things. My kids are like, why are stop signs red? And there's the history, and like, why that's what I do all day. I listen to podcasts about that. Anyhow, one thing the post office does is they will often not just release the stamps, but they'll even release signed, framed plaques of the stamps with the stamps and then like art around it. And I actually have a whole bunch. My wife really likes Snoopy, so I bought these Snoopy stamps, and we have it hanging in our house in the laundry room. And we have Spider-Man and I think like Wonder Woman stamps for my kids. So it's not just like, so if you go to some of the bigger post offices, they'll have like a little store, and in the store you could actually buy not just the stamps, but have them framed with like cool stuff associated with it. I wonder if they're doing that. Actually, I'm going to look that up right now while you talk, because I would buy that, because it's like, oh yeah, buy the stamps, but I kind of want a whole thing where it's like framed and everything. And let's see. Let's go
sure.
to UPS.
So I don't know what really I would say about stamps. I'm not like,
the stamp guy.
I'm not a major stamp guy when it comes to collecting them. I think I understand why people would be. It seems like it could be kind of neat or cool to collect something like that. I just never have. But the D&D stamps look cool, at least. Like, I'm very practical. I wouldn't pay extra for it.
They're not
but
extra.
If I paid the regular amount for my stamps and then they turned out to be D&D stamps, I'd be like, that's cool. I'm glad that they were.
They're the same price.
That's how I would respond.
They're the same price. If you get them like framed, they're more, because you get like the frame and everything. But no, they're never more. They never cost.
That's what I figured.
No. They
just are more. Cooler so that people buy them now instead of waiting until they just run out or something.
Oh, this is a good one. I'm looking some stuff up. Roll for postage. There we go. Like roll for combat, roll for postage. That's good. Like, you get an A+.
There we go.
Oh, it looks like
your new stamp-based.
Oh wait, I think
situation.
I might have found a sheet. Yeah, it's like a gift. Yeah, because it's a framed. Yeah. Oh, it's actually pretty cool. It's got a little D20 on it, and it has a map in the corner. Oh, this is actually pretty neat. I'm going to send the picture.
Yeah, the ones I saw looked cool.
Wait, there's the actual here. I'm going to put it in chat.
Oh, you've got the real deal.
Check out the sheet. Here, that's the real deal. Check that out. Actually came out really nice. So you get that. Not just the sheet, but you get like the frame around it, you see? And you frame that. Looks nice.
I mean, yeah. Why not? I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trey in chat said, break your D&D addiction with a stamp addiction.
Yeah, well.
That's kind of perfect.
Well, I ever said... I don't know. This might be too inside baseball. I had a girlfriend in high school, and back in the day, and they were talking about the 80s. I'm like, I'm heavy into Nintendo. I'm playing The Legend of Zelda, like the Legend of Zelda, not the original. Like, so we would used to play Chill. Remember Chill, the role-playing game? I would play Chill with her, and hold on a second. Excuse me. I'd play like Chill and Toon and D&D and video games with my girlfriend. And I mean, I was pretty geeky back then, as opposed to now. But back then, it was not as cool as it is now. Back then, you were kind of a loser. And then we eventually broke up. And then she ended up going out with a guy, and she married him, who is, I swear to God, a dentist by day, and at night he's a professional clown and juggler. And
there you go.
My friend said, he goes, wow. He's like, I thought you were geeky. I guess she's got a type. And I was like, oh, man. I was like, I had the geek totem pole. I didn't know there was actually a level below us, but maybe that might be it, being a clown juggler.
There you go. Being a clown juggler is even clownier than being a kind of clowny YouTuber.
Well, the funny thing is, I then saw there was like clown conventions, and I was like, I guess there's something for everybody. I guess I'm like, always when you think you you are the bottom of the barrel. Not the bottom, but you know what I meant, right? She had a type. And not only that, she looked exactly like me. Like, she even had the goatee, and I was like, okay, it's obviously a type she liked. So it was very funny. That's the only thing I was thinking. That's why I was laughing, because I was like, you go from a D&D addiction to a stamp addiction. So there we go. Oh, there's Instructo Boy.
Yeah, you were just talking about how you saw him so many times at Gen Con, and now he appeared here too.
That is weird. Did you know I was talking about you, Indestructible Boy? I would literally,
because I feel like you haven't just randomly mentioned him in like weeks, and then when you do, and you're like, he was always there. Every time I turned, he was so tall, and I saw him.
I was saying
there he is.
How you and I met at Gen Con, and then I saw you like 100 times at Gen Con after a while. I'd be like, hey, because you just kept appearing, and now here you are, you're appearing in the stream. So.
There we go. So do you have any more news, or shall we get into talking about the main topic? Because Steven,
sure,
I'm just gonna let all of you know in chat and who are watching this video, you might be like, Steven always like kind of wants to bait that he has something for us, but Mark knows about these things, right? Well, before the video, Steven came in advance with enough time to tell me why this topic on this particular day. And what he told me was, I have a reason. I'm not going to tell you what that reason is, but there is a reason. So even I was baited by Steven, and we're going to have to see what it actually is.
Before that, do subscribe to the channel. I think I had like 6 subscriptions last month, Mark. What's going on? That was pathetic.
Wow, you had fewer subscriptions than I did last month.
I know. Well, we keep going to the same people
by a lot. No, I that's because I had the most subscriptions ever.
Really?
I had one day with the most subscriptions ever and one day with the fewest subscriptions ever on my channel, Arcade Mark. Wednesday, May 29th, I got 169 subscriptions. Now I have 835. Then on the next day, I got negative 45, as like a quarter of those people were like, psych, that channel's terrible. And they all unsubscribed.
Yeah, that's about right. That's about how it goes. I'm like not even surprised. But I gotta get past 20,000. Come on, people. Do I have to manufacture a crisis? I'm trying not to do that.
You've created too many other crises just by predicting it and having it happen. So
I know. But I seriously, I'm not going to name names, but there's some people who are like every single week, they're like, you won't believe what Wizards did this week. I'm like, you think I'm bad? Like, that's every week. And even I'm like, what did they do?
They didn't even do anything a lot of weeks.
Well, they didn't do anything. It was the AI controversy. And they had the same take I did, is that they can A, change it whenever they want, and B, it actually says in their guidelines that the final product won't use AI, which means, we could take AI and then we'll like change one thing and ta-da, it's not final product. So whatever. I mean, get used to it. Everyone's using AI. Apple just announced they're going into everyone. Blah. But do check out, if you want, here comes the hawking. If you want a dice locket, look at that. It's $1. $1. And then if you buy the Battlezoo Bestiary Elemental Storm, which you're going to buy anyhow, okay? I know you guys, you're probably going to buy it because it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. Have you seen the pictures? I mean, look at that. You saw the pictures.
I've seen the pictures.
Mark, you've seen them. How crazy are they this year? They're like, the monsters are nuts, man.
They're really good.
They're really good this year. Really, really good. Because I got a whole bunch of new artists. And we are well known for having our art being great. And this art is redonkulous. In fact, take a look at the page right here if you just want to see it. And we're going to have animated tokens. Some. I don't know. We'll see how many. But we'll have at least some. Look at that. I mean, if you want animated tokens in your VTTs. I mean, look at that thing. Look at that hell... What is that thing? It's like a hell card. It's
Oh, are you talking about the that engine?
Yeah, the hell
engine. It was
engine.
like the something engine. It is the Necrosis engine. The Necrosis engine is Animated by powerful fiends, necrosis engines are machines of death created with the intent of exterminating the living by siphoning the souls of their prey, processing them into incorporeal coal that they burn to fuel their internal flames.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. First, it's like, look at the hands, and then there's a guy on top, like, spitting out fire, and you can't even see it. But the cage is made out of bones. Like, the level of detail of this thing, even when I got it, was like, come on, really? Like, it's ridiculous. And if you can't even see it so much in the upper left-hand corner, that being is a metallic, it's kind of like a metallic a drone. But at the bottom, you'll see there's a human who's absorbed into
the Hemidate. That's one of the platinum winners.
That thing is nasty because like they got a humanoid stuck in them, like melded into the metal. So
but they do a disease that spreads and then transforms you into a Hemidate. We've got a story of them coming up in a week or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So let's go into the main topic, Steven.
$1. Okay, so the main topic is you guys really have to break your D&D addiction, try something else. I'm going to tell you what happened. So I was reading, so obviously DC 20 has blown up to even levels that no one expected. And a lot of people were covering it. And I was watching on YouTube all these people, and some of these people have very small YouTube channels, like people that had maybe, a couple hundred or a couple thousand subscribers, and they were saying how impressed they were with DC 20, and they were talking about, I'm not knocking DC 20, but DC 20, I heard someone describe it as, it sort of does take a good mix of Pathfinder and 4th edition and 5th edition and kind of mixes it together, and it does. There's very obvious specifics from those editions that it takes and mixes together. But these were channels from people who were new to the hobby, who have only played D&D, have only played 5th edition, who were fascinated by DC 20, and they were specifically talking about mechanics that are in Pathfinder and in other systems. And I realized, remember when we talked to
Dungeon Coach?
Not Dungeon Coach, when we talked to
Derek?
Not Derek. Icarus Games. When we talked to Anto, he was another one of those, like, this is all he ever played was D&D, and then he started playing Pathfinder.
It wasn't.
Well,
that's not true.
Okay,
he played Pathfinder 1 before he even played 5e.
Okay, right. He
played Pathfinder 1 for a while. He played other games. That he is not someone who isn't. We have talked to a lot of YouTubers that did come in, and 5e was their first game.
Okay,
Anto's not one of those people.
But he was surprised. Okay, let me rephrase it. He played 1st edition, and 1st edition and 2nd edition D&D is so different that Pathfinder is so different. They're practically like, they're not even cousins. They're like distant cousins.
Anto has played for a while. Now there are people who are newer at it. I'm pretty sure Bob said that he only started on 5e.
Yes. My point is Anto played, well, because I was talking to him when he started to play Pathfinder, and he was amazed how many things it did that he always wanted D&D to do. And now he plays both, but he pretty much is, game of choice is Pathfinder.
I heard he also is having fun with his 5e game recently too. So he, the pendulum swings back and forth, that he's playing that more now as well. So like, it's good to. I guess the point is it's good to have multiple games because that gives him the option.
My point is that I was watching a lot of YouTubers who have done and played nothing except D&D, and they were talking about DC 20. And how, it was so interesting and revolutionary. And not that I go out of my way, because I do try to play other systems, but it's not my system of choice. Pathfinder 2nd edition is my system of choice. But I wanted to talk about how someone even like myself, who has a group that doesn't want to try anything else or play anything else, but I still get a chance to try out other games, even once in a while, just to see how they play, so you get an idea. just so you can see how other things work. And the other reason I wanted to talk about this is because I just saw the announcement. I didn't say this in the news because it's part of the news and part of this. The Stormlight Archive role-playing game.
Yep, that's going to be huge.
Oh, like we talk about, I know we've been kind of joking, like, oh, is this one going to beat D&D? No, DC-20 is not going to beat D&D. Is like Dragonheart or Dragonland or any of these, like, are they going to beat? No. Is the Stormlight Archive going to beat D&D?
Also, no. It's a different thing. It can do very well, but it's definitely not going to beat D&D.
It's not going to beat it. But if there's anyone who has a chance, he has the biggest Kickstarter and backer kit in multiple categories in history.
Of course. Here's what I will say in terms of what it will beat.
He has millions and millions and millions of dollars.
I'm usually the more realistic one, but here's my prediction. It will definitely, unless something goes really weird, be the #1 TTRPG Kickstarter of all time. It will beat all the other Kickstarters that have ever happened. Definitely. Easily.
Oh yeah, I think
it's not gonna beat D&D because that's just like, it's a different place, it's a different thing it's doing. But I think it's good enough. It will be a good enough win for it if I'm right and it beats all the other TTRPG Kickstarters of all time.
I agree. But my point is that this one is coming out, and if there's any point in time that you can sort of get, because I was watching these videos, and a lot of these are people that are just new to the hobby, and this is the only thing they play, and they probably wouldn't try Shadow Dark or DCC or something else. They would try, they are trying DC-20, but I'll tell you, a lot of those people are going to get Stormlight, and the other secret that I know is, I know for a fact, from what I've been hearing, okay, it's not a fact, but from what I understand is that, Brandon Sanderson is heavily involved in the role-playing game, and it's not going to be one of those, oh, we're making the game and it's based off Brandon's works. I have a feeling I wouldn't be surprised if not only did Brandon write a fair amount of this and like adventures for it and stuff, but I wouldn't even be surprised if there's a book or a novelette being released with this at the same time, because to him, he writes faster than Stephen King. Like, he's insane. So I'm
sure he has some secrets that he hasn't told anyone, because he always does.
I guarantee it.
Even beyond that, there's already been like rumors that there's going to be some amount of lore that's going to be useful, but which of course there always is in tabletop RPG, because you have to do like lore sections, and there's going to be something that hadn't been described directly in the books. Since Brandon's a gamer, he gets involved with his projects of similar projects like the Mistborn one. So I think it's going to be huge.
He is such a big gamer. I've spoken to him a few times back when no one knew who he was. I won't even get into it. He is the biggest of big. He is a massive gamer. Let's see. I'm just curious to see how many people, because I can tell based on the pre-signups of how well it's going to do, because I know.
Also, it looks like Indestructible Boy says he can give some insight if we want to know more on Stormlight, so he may know more. Oh, that's
right. You were the one. I knew someone who worked for them or with them, and I couldn't. I thought it was you. I thought it was Indestructible Boy. Okay, I do want to know more.
There you go.
Do we bring him on right now, and we suddenly change from playing things to playing this? Do you want to come on Destructo Boy? Do you want to come on now? Let me know. I can quickly get you on.
While you're deciding that, I will point out, Steven talked about how having a change of pace with a different game can be helpful. We have, if you go back about a year, while Steven is getting on Indestructible Boy, who said short thing in the chat, you go back about a year, you can see we had a video called Stop Playing D&D to Get Better at D&D, which is all about how gaining new lenses to look through at role-playing games and new ways to think about role-playing games by playing a very different role-playing game can actually improve your experience with your favorite role-playing game, even if you come back to it. That's you can watch that whole video. It's got a lot of useful information, but that's my big summary of where it goes. And if you're interested in particular information about certain TTRPGs, there's so many. There's hundreds or thousands of TTRPGs out there, indie ones that you can try. Like going off D&D doesn't mean you have to move to Pathfinder or DC-20 or any of the big ones. You could move to ones that are lesser known. And even among those, there are some that people are going to mention multiple times. For instance, last night on Arcade Mark Twitch channel, Linda and I did a 2-hour video about Blades in the Dark. That's a very famous one from 7 years ago that will often be mentioned as an indie RPG. Try if you want to do a heist. I've also done a video about Fabula Ultima that is the Arcade Mark YouTube channel's most popular video that talks about Fabula Ultima, which is a JRPG themed tabletop RPG. So the chances are there's a game out there that your group would love and that is got a very specific niche and genre that covers something that you would like. Because Stephen often talks about one of the biggest problems for breaking this chain, which is the inertia. There are groups out there playing D&D. You will find people who will join for your... If you say, I'm a GM or DM, I'm going to run a game of Dungeons and Dragons, and you post that online, you'll get swarmed with people who will play for you because the ratio of players to GMs is like 50-1. Everyone wants to play. They don't want to GM it. Whereas if you say, hey, I'm going to run this new game, Eat the Reich, that just came out, there are not that many people who know what that is. And so it is harder to get a group. And if you're playing with your friends and that's who you always play with, it might be harder to convince them to play it than the game that they already know. Steven has Eat the Reich. Absolutely. So I find that like videos breaking down what the goals of those games are, what some of the benefits of them are, could help you in understanding how to think about the game and how to talk about the game to convince your players to give it a shot for a one shot. And so that's my little spiel while you were getting him on. It looks like it has succeeded.
That was so easy. Hey. I'm getting so fast at this.
I guess I'm the dungeon coach for this stream. Okay, there we go.
I had to quickly switch. I was like, it's like, how quickly can I redo the layout? And I've got it down. You do this for 3 years, I got it pretty quick.
It's going well.
Well, we haven't spoken to in a while.
I have been a busy boy.
Well, you're always working
on Vagabond, right?
You're always working on Vagabond. It's at yours, a Vagabond, right? Vagabond. I see always every stream of yours. Although you were just playing Balalto. Balatro. That game is so good.
Yeah, it might be my favorite roguelike I've ever played, and it's like so weird to describe. Like whenever people see me playing it, it's like you put in 400 hours on Balatro. I'm like, dude, you don't understand. Like you gotta play it.
Well, once you get going, and it's on mobile. Like once it's on mobile, forget it. That's like that game is really good. Anyhow,
my GM in my Monday group recommended it as well.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's a rogue. Yeah. It's a poker roguelike, and people are like, "What?" I'm like, "Just trust me."
So it takes the deck builder formula of like Slay the Spire and applies it to poker, and like you start putting in tarot cards in your deck and like using jokers to like modify how your like hands score. You can play like a flush house, and like the game is just
it's really good.
Yeah,
there you go.
It's really good.
But yeah, I mean, I played Vagabond with Indestructible Boy like a few months ago.
What?
And it was fun. It was interesting.
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, well, it wasn't on a stream or anything. It was just like a playtest game.
Hey. Yeah, I was running some demos and stuff. Yeah, I personally really like the more like lightweight kind of systems. But I always love the character expression of like Pathfinder and 5e. And I wanted to find something that was like kind of a blend of that. And that's whenever I got started on Vagabond last year. And we're doing crowdfunding next month. So it's a lot of meetings and stuff right now. I just got out of a meeting with the dice manufacturer. So I'm like,
oh, really?
But I mentioned Stormlight info and stuff like that. So I interviewed to be the graphic designer on that one. They wound up I don't know who they actually wound up getting, but I know like Gordon McAlpin was interviewing, I want to say. And Gordon's, I mean, like if they went with Gordon, they went with like the best like out there right now. So I mean, I know some of it. I also know some of the designers that are currently working on it. And I've spoken with Brotherwise about it. So like there's a couple things here. Number one, I think that this TTRPG is going to fund for over 20 mil. This is going to be a massive project. Not just because it's, you know, Brandon Sanderson RPG, and they've also got like they have a team of like real major industry pros. I mean, I've worked with Ross Leiser on collabs in the past. They have some incredible like talent behind the game itself. But one of the other things that is going to majorly push people like into this is that the world building books that are, I guess they're developing for the Cosmere have lore that Brandon Sanderson has not publicly like put out there yet in a book. So like you're not just going to get the TTRPG heads going for this. You're going to get a lot of the Cosmere fans that are also backing it just to get a hold of some of that like primo, you know, unspoken of lore and everything to the system. From what I understand, it's a very loose like 5e foundation, not exactly the 5e system. From what I heard, it almost sounds like there's more of an exchange of what happens in the action economy, similar to a little bit of what sounded like with Daggerheart, or like there may be some momentum thing that happens, but this was early on whenever I heard about this, so they may have gone away from that. But the huge thing that everybody loves Brandon Sanderson for is like the guy writes the best magic systems in fantasy. And that was the thing that they knew they needed to nail with this, is like they needed to get allomancy, hemomancy. Oh god, there was like there's a whole you could write a whole book just, and I think that they actually have written a whole book on Sanderson's magic systems. But apparently this is like the Sanderson approved way that this should be expressed in a TTRPG. And I'm like, okay, sick. Like, let's see what's going on with it, you know. But yeah, this is going to be one of those ones that's going to have reach outside of the TTRPG industry. You're going to have BookTube promoting this thing, like, and you know, biggest like D&D YouTuber is probably like Jenny D, maybe like Mr. Rex. But if you look at like BookTube, these people have like triple, quadruple the sub count of even the biggest TTRPG people, and they're not even like the biggest of BookTube, you know.
So let's do an over-under. Words of Radiance made 23 million. I think that an RPG will make less than what, even though it was for a leather cover of a book that already existed, make less than something that was in the main line, but maybe not a lot less. Does anyone on this call think it will go make more than the Words of Radiance did?
Yes, I'm going to tell you why.
All right.
Really?
We'll hear it. I'm usually the one who's more like under or the real, the realistic or pessimistic.
Because
well, let's hear it.
Because he's very, very, very good at coming out with the limited editions, and he's going to have a $999 limited edition or $1,000 limited edition, and you're going to have 10,000 people back that damn thing. Okay, I mean he does not fool around. Okay, when he does not come out with, oh, here's the regular book is $40 and the limited edition is $60. It's like, no, the regular book is $40 and the limited edition is $250, and everyone gets the limited edition. And he has very, very expensive tiers that get heavily backed, and that's where your money comes from. You know, if you're going to do the math of Kickstarters, you get your money from the limited edition tiers, the special tiers. And I've never seen anyone get the bigger buy-in than Brandon Sanderson. And he can go crazy with this. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if there was a $1,500 tier. And you get thousands of people selecting that tier, and that's it. You know, so That's how you do it. It's a combination of numbers and average pledge. And if his average pledge is only going to be $100, then you could do the math. And if you do $100, you need 23,000 people. He's going to get his average pledge up to $400, which he does. He gets his average pledges are extremely high, and he gets the numbers. That's how he makes $40 million. So yeah, he's gonna do it, and that's when no one else does this. Like no one else does the same way he does. He's known for these special editions, and I'm guilty. I got a whole bunch of them with him signed them, right in my my library. So.
Yeah, I will say, I think the other perk that this one really has going for it is it's going to be the only TTRPG, like brand new system that drops that has enough world building behind it to rival Forgotten Realms. I mean, Brandon Sanderson's already built out the world, and I've written a system. I didn't write a world. I wrote like a toolkit. With the Stormlight RPG, this is decades of world building that's going to go into this. So I think it's also got that incredibly strong arm that's going to go for it.
He's got, the lore behind this alone. He's got everything. It's him. It's a combination of he's already raised the biggest Kickstarters of all time. He already has a gigantic mailing list. People love him. He is going to make an absolute fortune. This thing is going to probably hit, I'm going to be surprised. I think I'll hit 40 million easily.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's see.
He's going to have minis in it. That's why. The minis, it's going to be a very expensive tiers. There's going to be tiers up there that are crazy.
Everyone, put your bookmarks on this point in the chat, and we'll come back later and see who's right. Because, a lot of these times Steven knows what he's talking about. I'll make my predictions. I'll contradict him, even though, he knows a lot about business, and he'll be right. But every once in a while, I get it. So we'll see.
Well, I'm looking something up. I'm actually going to Bookscan.
Okay.
Because
I was I'll say it'll break 10 mil.
It'll break 10 mil.
It'll break 10 mil.
You said it would break 20 earlier.
Yeah, it'll break 10 mil.
No, that was all Steven.
No, you actually did say 20 at one point. You said 10, you did say 20. And then later you said 20. We can go back and see.
You did say 20.
I said under 23, so that has been covered unless it goes above his last Kickstarter that was not for a TTRPG. I just think that enough people who did buy the 23 million one will be I don't really want the TTRPG, that it will make up for any amount of people who didn't buy the other one and do want the TTRPG, which is why my guess is it'll be under. But I could be very wrong. Like Steven said, if there's tons of minis and you have these miniature armies of you've got all your Parshendi on one side, and you've got people carrying a bridge mini and whatever you want to do. Maybe it'll be way more. I don't know.
I
don't think so.
I think that in terms of the miniature market, that's not really a thing that I really keep my eye on all that much, because I play with tokens these days. If I'm running a game, it's white battle mat and here's token. All right, let's go for it. But I do know that the people that are going to go hard on that are going to go incredibly hard on that. And it's also being run by Brotherwise, who has an incredible track record of not just killer crowdfunding campaigns, but also fulfilling promptly. This thing is getting made. This is a no duh. If you wanted to back this thing, you're gonna be getting your product. Whereas it feels in a lot of other cases, it's still sort of funding an idea, funding a concept without a whole lot of proven track record. This is one where it's just a sure bet. This is happening. It's gonna be big. So get on or get out of the way is gonna be the way that it's gonna go. But what I will say is this is gonna be a big enough thing where I think that the popularity of Sanderson's audience that had never been introduced to TTRPGs is now going to get introduced to it in a way that I think is going to be actually more impactful than what Critical Role did. I'll straight up say that right now. I think they've got Sanderson's got a way bigger audience. Even people that were like not originally all that into the hobby are going to be picking this thing up and at least playing it. Like just learning. We will have people in the next 5 years that have said, I've never tried 5e, but I got into TTRPGs through the Stormlight RPG. Like that's going to happen. So yeah, it's like this is going to be a huge wave, and I don't think it's necessarily that something has to come along that kills D&D. Like I've always really not been a fan of that messaging. Instead, I like the idea that we're now going to have more games, more options, and people will be more willing to, like, if they learn Stormlight and then they go and learn D&D, and then they're like, oh, well, learning another system wasn't that hard. What about like one of these other things like Pathfinder or Merkborg or, Vossen, whatever. I think that it's not necessarily like this is going to be the shard blade that's going to ruin Wizards of the Coast. It'll be a ding. It'll be, but I don't think that's what we should be looking out for. I think we should be like, look at the video game industry. Like I'm over here putting in $400 in Balatro in the last 2 months. And then there's some people that have picked it up and been like, I can't even with this game. I love being able to serve as many people as we can.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say almost the same thing about it's not going to kill D&D, but it's very likely that it will get people to play RPGs that aren't D&D. Just like this topic of this video, how to break your D&D addiction, I guess, because you talked, Taryn, about the people who didn't play any tabletop RPGs but they read Stormlight and they buy this book.
Oh yeah.
There's also a significant subset because those people might just stop playing at a decent percentage. They play, I'll try it out. It's got new lore. They play it a little bit. The people that might be really impactful are the ones who only played 5e and are Stormlight fans, who also get the Stormlight RPG because they're Stormlight fans. And then they realize, hey, we played another RPG that wasn't 5e and it was cool. That it was different. And then once you, like, as far as I know from just like talking to people and just hearing a lot of things for a lot of different people, once you have opened yourself up to playing two things and not just D&D, a lot of groups will start playing more than two.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to have a huge impact on helping everybody else that isn't D&D in a way that might not hurt D&D at all.
No, I actually feel like the good bridge opener to get people to kind of understand that they can read other systems and it's not as hard as they think it is. Whatever system it is you're currently playing, if you go and you read Merkborg, read the bare bones edition. I know some people really hate the layout on the original version. I think you come to love it over time, but like the bare bones version is plain text. You'll start to see that like you get the same role play experience and like camaraderie that you would out of D&D, and it's suddenly like, oh, it's just I'm not having my character's not quite as me plugging in the minutiae of a million different aspects into the character sheet. And then that's where I started to find my love for rules light systems. But I always recommend Merkborg as a bridge for like, trust me, it's way easier to understand other RPGs if you just read the book. And that was
my recommendation for the bridge is probably not Merkborg. So I'm not going to disagree that it is a good game that can be a bridge. But my recommendation, which I may have revealed or betrayed by talking about the Stormlight archive, is that your group's bridge is different from anyone else's bridge, and that I would say there almost is no good single good bridge because of the fact that D&D, by funneling in new people, becomes like this lingua franca system that everybody has played, even whether or not their group is in many different quadrants of whatever two-dimensional graph of play groups that you want to have, whether or not D&D is optimal for that group. So there's some groups who Merkborg is just unequivocally the best thing that they could play, and there's some who that would scare them away from playing other games, just for a variety of reasons. So I would say find one that the idea or pitch behind it sounds too cool not to try. And that's how you can get your group who's hesitant to try something else to try something else. Like if they're all Stormlight heads and you always talk about the newest book release whenever Sanderson writes one, chances are it'll be easier to convince them to try the Stormlight RPG.
Yeah.
And so that is a solid way to do it. Everybody always loves heist movies. Ocean's 11, do something that's good at heists. For instance, Blades in the Dark.
The Job actually just came out from Games Omnivorous, which has a super funny mechanic where you're stacking D6s to like make a dice tower for like how things get dramatic. And then whenever the dice tower falls over, it's like the bad stuff happens. It's kind of like an alternate take on what progress clocks are doing in like Blades. I thought that was just a really cute and clever idea. As someone in your chat had mentioned Cairn. Cairn is also like, what is it, like a 13-page rule book? And it's like, there's a lot of these games that are trying to, instead of, making, 200-page tomes, trying to make like the same experience, but like way, way, way skinny, teeny tiny book, and Cairn is one of those ones, actually inspired a lot of Vagabond. It's one of those ones that they are just like, here's the basics of like how you do the resolution, and like you guys feel free. Here's the world that's being presented to you, and go. Yeah.
All right, so
absolutely.
I'm thinking about this more. So here's the other thing, is that you have a TTRPG, and Brandon Sanderson writes books, and he's literally putting out more books. So this isn't like they're coming out with a video game. This isn't him coming out with a board game. This is people who buy and read books being asked to buy and read more books. So that's the other reason why I think it's going to do this well. And it's going to be fascinating because I can't think of too many other times this has happened, because I'm looking around. Like, I got the Aliens RPG, I got the Star Trek RPG, I got the Dune RPG, I got the Lord of the Rings RPGs. We have a lot of RPGs. There's a lot that exist in worlds, but a lot of these worlds are kind of set and done. Like Dune is kind of done. Like, there's a lot they built off of, but it's how much can you go back to the same well over and over again? Brandon Sanderson's young,
right.
He's in his like 40s, or he's just maybe turned 50,
I think he might be early 50s.
Yeah, it might be early 50s. He's young. He writes a huge amount. So he's still going to be actively committing and adding to this. So there is that factor of getting in on the ground floor of something new that is going to be evolving and changing right before your eyes. And this has a lot of factors that nothing else like it has.
You know what else it has that I just now thought about?
Yeah.
It also has, I believe this is an animated series underway. It also has a movie deal that has been optioned for at least 2 of the series. Mistborn and the Stormlight Archive have, I think he was talking about Mistborn as optioning that for a movie, or like a 3-parter trilogy or something like that. And if you've ever read Mistborn, that's going to be a huge deal. That's going to be a different take on fantasy that like is not out there right now. It manages to deliver some of the like bite and edge of like Game of Thrones without being grimdark at times. And then everything that's happening with like the Cosmere, also From Software reached out to Brandon Sanderson to write a video game for them. The guys that make Dark Souls, Elden Ring, all that. It's gonna have this game is gonna drop, and then it's gonna have other supporting material that no other franchise has, other than D&D. Pathfinder does in terms of like video games, but like in terms of like a series or whatever. Like this is a world that is still being made. And this game is just a consequence, really, of the crazy explosion in popularity that this thing has, Yeah. And I think it actually, you know what? I'll go with Steven. I think that this could possibly break. I think this could break 30. I'll go with that.
You didn't go quite to Steven with 30. No, Steven's still saying break 40.
I'll at least say that I think that I think it could break 30. If it hit 40, okay. I'd be like, yeah.
Well, that's the only reason is that he's talking to people who already buy books. If they're smart and he's very good at he's the best. He's very, very, very good at marketing. He's going to market this thing. He's got the gigantic, massive mailing list. People, he's going to have something in there like a special book or something that's new.
I understand that, Steven, but to beat 40 million, you realize it's going to have to outdo or equal the surprise novels that he did that had 4 novels and that every month we send you a thing.
Yeah, but his highest tier on that was only $500. Okay, that is it's good. Yeah, but that's the problem, and a lot of people did that. I guarantee there's going to be $1,000 tier on this thing, if not more. And he had how many people ended up on that one? Like 20.
How many people back the year of Sanderson? 185,000.
Yeah, that was mega massive.
185,000. So if you got a third of that, or a quarter of that, it really just comes down to average. It just comes down to average pledge, and they're going to get that average pledge up. They're going to make it that you're putting down hundreds of dollars. Of course, as I'm saying this, I'm realizing maybe.
Because Words of Radiance got 102,000. I think that a TTRPG Kickstarter will get fewer people than that, but I also think that it will get it for more money, like you said.
I can get a quarter, but a quarter is still... You can get 25,000 people, which I think it's going to do more, and you get...
Yeah, and then you get them for a high amount.
You get them for over $100. I mean, that's really the secret. It's like, it's going to be over $100. You get them for a $200... You see, you just do the math. Say the average pledge will be... If you can get them to $150, $200, you get 25,000 people, boom, 40 million. There you go.
Does this beat? Yeah. Do you think this beats Frosthaven and the Critical Role, Legends of Vox Machina?
It'll beat the biggest one of all time is Avatar for the Last Airbender for TTRPGs.
Wait, really? Yeah. I don't remember what that one made.
It came out like 2 years ago. We made like 10 million, 11 million, something like that.
Yeah, well, wow. I think every single person who's on this has already agreed that I started by saying it will definitely be the most, or I think it's very, very, very likely to be the most funded TTRPG Kickstarter of all time. We've only just been one-upping that amount since then. But yeah, Avatar, the TTRPG made just under 10 million.
Yeah. People are like, there's 5,000. I wouldn't even be surprised to have $5,000 tier. Like, there's going to be tiers that are just absolutely insane, and you'll have 1,000 people back those. And you'll just have 1,000 people back these insane tiers, which will get you a cool million or two right there. That's how it works. That's the game. So it's gonna be huge. And the thing is that I wouldn't even get into it. He can do it. He can fulfill it. He's got this whole system. He built basically a town in Salt Lake that does nothing but take care of this. He's got a whole warehousing system. The last one, The Secret, I mean, he released everything in The Secret Kickstarter on time, which is mind-boggling. And like perfectly on time, which no one does. And
he built up a machine. Like, literally, people talk about his success and how he got that, and he worked hard for it. He built up so much infrastructure.
Build an entire infrastructure just to fulfill that Kickstarter. Like he didn't go to someone. He built it. they just made, and I know because I know people who work there in Salt Lake and did that. What is going to be fascinating? There's one dig. There's only going to be one dig I'm going to have. So, I don't know if you noticed this, but his books are what I would call PG or PG-13. Okay. His books are not R-rated, and they're barely PG. It's because he's a Mormon, and he's very religious. So he doesn't put sex and violence. He puts violence, but his violence is implied rather than graphic. And
I think it would... I think many of his books would be PG-13 due to like some of the stuff that's in it like at the very least there's some where like people are like transformed into monsters via like torturous things that are inserted into them or things like that.
Mistborn does get rated R.
Mistborn gets well, there is graphic body horror, especially the third book.
Yeah,
it gets pretty gross.
So I think PG-13 at the very least. But what you're saying, Steven, what you're saying, and I know what you're trying to say, but you're giving the ratings off because of the violence, is that the sex and that kind of content is very light in Sanderson.
It's almost, well, it's funny because I have a friend of mine, good friend, and I was talking. This is like 15 years ago, and when he was just starting to really get big, and he's like, "Oh, I tried reading him, but I can't." And I was like, "Why?" It's like because he's a Mormon, and his stuff is so sanitary, and I want the full human experience, and I feel like I'm reading a sanitized version. And I never thought about that until he said it. And of course, after that, now I'm reading it and I'm always seeing it because I'm almost like, you know what, he's kind of right.
Was Avatar rated R?
What's that?
I said, was Avatar rated R?
No, but my point is, yeah, but there's violence in that. That's pretty graphic. But my point is that this was also at the time when Game of Thrones was like massive, you know, and that was nothing but sex and violence, you know. So things go back and forth. I'm just finding
you know what? I like the Sanderson style stuff, and I think that Game of Thrones, I think A Song of Ice and Fire was gratuitous for me in certain aspects of it, and especially in the slaughtering of characters.
Yeah, no, I'm saying it can go both ways, but I'm just saying is that when you go to Hollywood, it'll be interesting to see who wins that, because their rules, like, you don't get full control. You just don't. You know, like, if they say we need to have this amount of blood and violence, this amount, like, it's either their way or the highway. Like, that's why so many things fail. You know, this is why so much, you know, like, I won't even get into the politics, but politics is when you were saying, oh, these are options. This he still has complete control over, or near complete control, because it's a book. So that's why I'm like, curious.
Yeah, I personally think Brandon Sanderson's got the kind of cred that he's like, no, there's no boobs in this movie. You know, I mean, like if that's what he wanted, you know, like I can't really recall a scene, at least from Mistborn, that I would say is like would push it above an objectively, no, it's not going to go. Honestly, I could see Mistborn getting a PG-13 rating. I could also see it potentially getting an R rating.
It won't get an R. They'll know it's
But what I will say is, like, for, you know, as much as that drive was for, you know, the Game of Thrones style grim fantasy is the thing that's going to be really, really popping off or whatever. Mm-hmm. There's also a strong pushback from people who are just like completely turned off by, like, in a dark gray world shattered by a cataclysm where everybody has a plague and 3 fingers, you know, like it's a,
you could balance
you get people who, yeah, you as many times as I've told people, like, you know, Merkborg, they're like, well, yeah, but I prefer to do something like Pirate Borg because Merkborg is just too much of a, like, the miseries are going to end the world, you know, like. So I think that gritty edge can sometimes push people away, like what we saw with the DC movies. I think, like, wasn't that like a big critique of those, was like they went way too hard on the, like, grimdark superhero, like, movie thing.
I won't get it, but that's a whole other thing, because that's also when the Marvel movies were doing well. But we're about to see there's always these shifts in the movie industry as to what's popular and what's not. And I think we're about to see another shift happen right now, because right now we're kind of in the middle. It's almost like dynasties. So right now we had, like, the happy-go-lucky Marvel dynasty of, you know, like, of the jokies, and now that's failing. But what will kind of be the big watermark will be, so when Deadpool and Wolverine comes out in next month, that will be interesting, because that's going to be R-rated, and those movies have made money and made a ton of money, and right now everything's failing. PG movies failing, R-rated movies failing, you know. I mean, I can't even believe it, but, like, Furiosa movie did terrible. It's out of the theaters in 2 weeks. It's gone.
Seriously?
Yeah. It did so poorly. It's already gone. That's how poorly it did. It's phenomenal, and I loved it. I mean, it wasn't as good as
I think movies have just been down overall.
They have,
but that might also be theaters as well, because they keep shelling you that $40 popcorn bucket.
Yeah, but, yeah, but that's all. There's a lot of reasons, and there's a lot, but yet at the same time, you have things like Barbie and Oppenheimer. Like, it can happen. And here's the joke. Here's the funniest part, is that last year, everyone was saying how poorly D&D did. D&D, actually, if it came out this year, would have been one of the highest ranking movies of the entire year.
Assuming that it made the same amount of money.
Assuming it made the same amount of money. But that's how bad theaters are doing. It's just like mind-boggling. In fact, it did incredibly well. It just didn't make all the money. It just made a lot of money. And now they're not even making any money. They went from, we want to make all the money in billions, to, I think only 4 movies have made more than $100 million this year. And that's it, which is ridiculous. Like, that's it, 100 million. Like we used to have 4 movies made over $1 billion at this point. Well,
Steven, you know my hot take on movie theaters already.
Yes.
Which is that, to me, going out with friends to watch a movie in the theater is like the last thing that I would possibly do if I can actually get several friends who can have a time that we can meet up and do something. I don't want to spend it in a dark room where I'm not talking to people. Maybe other people.
You're one person. I'm talking about
maybe other people have come to realize that with a variety of other ways to see movies, that the theater is not the best way to do
everywhere. I mean, football's down, basketball, everything's down. Everything that involves people meeting up in common areas is down, pretty much, by the way. 16 movies. Oh, I'm not talking about worldwide. I was talking about the U.S., by the way. Messed up holding. I was talking about just the United States.
That still seems
that's very low. That's like incredibly low. By the way, Fury Road, people like it did poorly at the box office. It did poorly in comparison to what everything else was doing. It did fine, and it made its money back. Furiosa didn't even make its money back. It didn't even make its budget back. Okay, to make its money back, it had to do like 400 million. I think it's at like 140 million, and it costs like 160 million. So it's not even going to make its own budget back. That's how poorly. Oh, there we go. Domestic, it's 5, and that's probably new because one just hit it. So it is the middle of June. We're halfway through the year. 5 movies have made $100 million.
In the domestic box office.
I'm super curious. Yeah.
that is like, that's how many movies would have made 100 million. I think at this point last year it was like 20. So, and forget it, go 5 years ago, it was probably like 40. So give you an idea of just how poorly things are doing. Anyhow, I don't know how we got on this. We got on this topic because it'll be fascinating.
We got it from the Mistborn and what it would be.
I'm sorry. All right.
Oh, no, but I love talking about movies. Anytime I can talk about movies, I'll talk about movies.
I'm the king of derailing my own streams.
Well, you know what? If you are, then Steven is the Emperor. And I mean, like, specifically the Sith Emperor Palpatine.
Well, I love movies. I mean, this is what I wanted to do. My brother's in the movie industry. I mean, I kind of was. I worked for MTV for a while. I did TV. And then when I saw the behind the scenes and how nasty it was, I laughed because I was like, yeah. Oh my, this is like too much. It's really, as horrible as you think it is, it's way worse. So I was like, yeah, I can't deal with that. So I left. But yeah, it's just, it's fascinating. Anyhow, I'm curious. I mean, I think it's going to do very well. Okay, so let's go back to the main topic, which was, how do you get to play? So I wanted to say that go to conventions and play there. Okay, that is how you can that's how I get my fix. Because I got to play Shadow Dark. The only time I get to play Shadow Dark is at conventions. And I'm going to be playing with Kelsey Dion as my GM on next Friday, in front of a live audience. So you get to see me do my level 10 shenanigans with Kelsey, and she said bring it. So I was like, oh, I'm bringing it, baby. You're gonna see shenanigans out the wazoo. So
what convention is that?
Origins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so she's gonna be there. She's running a live game for an audience, so I'm playing with her. And also, you know, what's going to be, I'm going to try out there is the Gloomhaven RPG, because I want to try that.
Mm.
I don't know anyone, because it's like, think about this is the problem with trying a new RPG, because everyone's like, oh, you try it. It is so hard to get. Someone has to learn the rules, and then you got to get 3 or 4 or 5 other people who also learn the rules, because they got to make characters, and then you got to set it up. I mean, that's a lot. It's a lot of work, man.
It takes logistics, even if you have people who really know what they're doing.
Yes.
Like I can give a shared example with Indestructible Boy. Like when we were getting the Vagabond thing together with people who all were very experienced and did a lot of tabletop RPG stuff, we still had to all look at the rules. We had questions. There were like auto calculation errors in one of the PDF that we had to get through, and that's not a ding or a problem on that. That's just like, that's what happens every time when you're going into something new, or even if there's not an error you might think there is because you made an error and the calculation was right. That's how it goes.
But like, let's say like someone doesn't have the funds and stuff to like get into a convention and like get, you know, I will say actually one of the things I liked about Gen Con was the Lucas Oil Stadium. I don't think that you had to have a badge to get in there. Correct me if I'm wrong, Steven.
You do. You need a badge.
You do? Oh, okay.
Yeah, you need a badge to get into Lucas Oil Stadium in the gaming area. The outside area you don't need a badge, but in the middle you need a badge. The same thing like the halls. Like you can walk through the halls and get to areas within Gen Con and not need a badge. And in theory, you could probably get into some of the talks in the rooms on the sides without a badge. But like, you know, you can get into all those rooms without a badge, but you can't get onto the show floor and you can't get onto the gaming area in the middle without a badge. That I know.
Yeah, in all honesty, if someone really wanted to go to Gen Con and you have a bunch of your buddies that also want to go, the show floor is fun, you know, but like once you go through there for one day, you kind of feel like you've seen at least 70% of everything.
What? And like, one day? At Gen Con?
I feel like I did. Yeah.
It takes me a good 4 days to see everything. I go through everything.
I'm definitely more on Steven's side, or at least I should say there's no amount of days that there could be where I would be able to take in that show floor because it's too overwhelming. So I definitely couldn't do it after one day. I couldn't do it after 4 days. Because I just get overwhelmed by sensory overload of like, look at all the colors and the sound. There are all these booths, and this is cool and that is cool. What should I do?
I felt like for me it was like the first day we were there, you know, going to like see people, meet people, and everything. We walked the show floor. We definitely spent too much money, but then like after that, it was like more so just hanging out with the people that were, you know, like YouTubers and stuff and. But I mean, that was a different experience than I think the majority of people, you know, would go to. But
it's totally like, it's funny because I didn't even sign up for, like, everyone's like, oh, what you sign up for? I'm like, nothing. I didn't sign up for anything because we'll find games. Like, we'll just play games at night. Like, that's what we were doing every night. So I literally will walk the floor, talk to people, find games, go out to dinner, and then we all get together and play a game. Like, so I don't really even have to sign. I don't even bother signing up anymore.
Yeah, that was the most fun part of Gen Con to me was like there was one night there at the end where it was me, Dungeon Dad, Ted from Nerd Immersion, the Hype Goblin, and LB Hackemup were playtesting a game that Greg Leatherman was working on. Greg Leatherman's made Mystery Business and Glitter Hearts, and he's working on another game at the moment, and it was just us sitting in an empty hotel like dining room playtesting this thing, and I was like, we could be doing this like anywhere, but like this is what was so cool about being here was like, yeah, we're kind of just talking about like gaming or whatever. Just
I'll tell you another thing I might do. because they're running the first chapter of Jewel the Indigo Isle at Gen Con this year, they being Lurking Fears. And I might just show up and run a game just for the hell of it. I might just show up and take one of the tables and just run and DM the game for somebody. So we'll see. See how bored I get. I should probably read the adventure, although I haven't read it in a year, but I think it's tattooed on my brain. Although not always, because I read what people are doing, and I was like, what part was that? Like, they'll actually say, oh, but that's like part 2 or something, because, 430-page adventure, I can't memorize the whole thing, but it's the first chapter, I could probably wing it without even reading it too much. Speaking of which, Mark, you and I have to talk because there's only 4 pre-made characters. I think we got to get them a couple more pre-mades because the 6 people signed up, and we don't want.
Could they use one of the Eldamon pre-made characters?
Yeah, like the ones you made for that sales con. We could just use those.
Yeah, they're not level 1 though, but
well, let's talk because we
might be able to de-level them.
Yeah, or maybe ask the Discord to help us maybe make some characters real quick. I know it's a nightmare, and I don't want you to work on it, but maybe I just want to give people option because there's only 4 pre-mades, and I'd probably want to give them at least 2 or 4 more. So there's because there's always going to be 6 people playing, so I want to give them more options. So.
Is that meant to be played like separate of like Galarian, Pathfinder and everything, or is that supposed to be like incorporated in as like?
Baby, it's my own world.
So it's not Galarian, which you named the world of Pathfinder, but it is either 5e or Pathfinder, depending on which one you signed up for. It is in that game system that you would have signed up for.
Yes, you sign up for 5e or Pathfinder. It takes place in the Indigo Isles. And the Isles are purposely designed to work in any game system because they're basically Hawaii. So you can put them anywhere you want in any game system, including your own, and they work very well because it's its own standalone thing. So.
Gotcha. Wait, what was the world of Pathfinder? I'm like...
Galarian is the world of Pathfinder. Our world is Alakar.
Okay, so I did get it right. I was like, oh crap, wait.
No, you got it right. And we have...
You got it absolutely right.
Galarian is one book out. There's one book we did come out with. And Bob Worldbuilder wrote a chapter, is the World of Battlezoo Indigo Isles. And it has full details. It's quite a lot of actually. Here's the Indigo Isles. Cool. And there's like 50 player-made islands, because we had this thing in the Kickstarter where people submitted their own islands, and then we selected the best ones, our favorites, and we put them in. And here's my favorite, is the... there's a lich.
Yeah, that was the coolest one in my opinion. Yeah. Is the Waltopia, the lich who created an amusement park to hide out in as like a front to their evil research, but their evil research and all their attempts to take over the world constantly failed. But the lieutenants that they put in charge of the amusement park actually did a really good job running it, and it was very popular. And the lich just got so upset that she hasn't been seen in a while. And so now there's a potential for civil war where some of her other minions who wanted to fight again are like, she hasn't come back. We have to stop doing this. We can't just keep doing the amusement park. Whereas the ones who are running it are doing way, they're like, no, keep going. This is like one of the most popular tourist attractions. We can't just kill all of the people who are guests, right?
It reminds me, you know what? It's like Austin Powers, if you ever saw the first movie.
Right, where number 2 made the evil thing he goes, really popular.
It's like $1 million. And he goes, we make like $2 billion annually, just off our coffee sale or whatever. We're such a big evil enterprise. We're a little bit past that. We make more money legitimately than illegally. That's exactly what that is. It's like
I was getting vibes of that as well. So I knew exactly who you were talking about. It's
funny.
It's just very funny.
Yeah.
Well, I guess kind of also kind of circling back on your, I guess thesis statement on this stream on trying something else and everything. A lot of that is also on, publishers providing the right, you guys are just mentioning pre-gen characters, but one of the things that I love that Pathfinder did that 5e didn't do was providing a solo adventure that was basically choose your own adventure format that all of us are familiar with.
That was that's unfair. That was such a good idea.
it was the Pathfinder beginner box is still like incredibly high up there in like, you know, my eye for like TTRPG starter set stuff. Dragonbane.
Well, thank you. Since that's one that I worked on as well.
It's like you guys and Dragonbane have are like the best beginner boxes. I still think most likely Pathfinders is higher up there because I think that Dragonbane offers a bit more in the tactical crunch side of it than the beginner box absolutely throws you into and makes you feel completely comfortable with. But I still think that like Alone in Deepfall Breach is like, you know, this infinite dungeon generator thing that you can go through. I really think that like if you get out of the 5e sphere and you start looking at how some companies have been trying to do beginner boxes, Zweihanders is super generous too. I'm trying to think of
I'll
other
tell you
beginner
someone else
boxes.
who's super generous. This little company called Roll for Combat. In fact, you can download the Jewel of the Indigo Isles first chapter, which takes you from level 1 to level 2. That comes with an 80-page adventure, a full gazetteer, all the tokens, all the maps, pre-gen characters, everything that you need for free for 5e and Pathfinder. How about that?
That is a real talent right there, is finding those segues, man. I just realized something, Steven. Do you have Black Razor behind you?
Yes.
On the shelf? Oh, that's so cool.
Yes, he does.
I do. Where's Black Razor?
Up there on the top.
Oh, wait, no, it's actually Stormbringer. It's actually Stormbringer.
It's Stormbringer. Stormbringer.
Oh, nice.
No, this is Black Razor.
He has Stormbringer rather than Black Razor.
I mean, you know, Black Razor was just swiped from, you know, that.
It pretty much was. So you figured out what it was. Because it is very much.
Look at that thing.
Based off Stormbringer.
Awesome. Yes. I know. Everyone's like, what is that? I'm like, what do you think it is? I got this custom made from someone in Germany. And as everything you get, when you get these things, I buy it. And then like 8 months later, it shows up. And you're like, what did I buy that for? But now having a YouTube channel, it comes in handy.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I could absolutely. You're doing the right thing with it. It needs to be a prop back there.
Oh, it's such a.
We just need to get it like a real mount on the wall is what we need to get you.
Well, no one even noticed. Not even Mark. Do you notice something different, Mark?
I
knew that you had on your Stormbringer.
No, you missed
Even you take
else.
out Stormbringer like a million times. I knew you had Stormbringer.
That's not what I'm talking about. I have another shelf. No one noticed it.
Oh, I see.
I was about to say it does look more dense back there.
It looks a little more cluttered, but
it's not cluttered. You should have seen it before I bought the shelf. So I'm going to tell you the adventure of the shelf. So these shelves, okay, which everyone loves, and I get a million people asking me, where do you buy these shelves? Because they take up very little space. They look awesome, and they hold a ton of books. I mean, they hold a lot. This thing goes all the way to the. It's a lot. And this is a 9-shelf book. And I only had 2, and then I ran out of space, and it was taking up, like I was just overflowing. So I was like, okay, so I bought it again, and it showed up, and I put it together. It's the exact same one from Amazon, and it was 8 shelves. And it was like this, it was like a third, 2/3 the size. I'm like, what the hell? Because it doesn't fit. Because they have to be the exact, first of all, it's 8 versus 9, so it doesn't fit. It didn't fit in, and it's the wrong height. And I'm like, what the hell? And then I looked, and they discontinued the 9 shelf. They discontinued this 9 shelf. They only had the 8 shelf. And I bought a whole bunch of them. So I had to return the first. I have one that's now sitting in the corner, not doing anything. So then I returned it. And then I went on a quest to find the original 9 shelf bookshelf to see if I can find it. I went to eBay. I went international. I was going like on international Amazon, everywhere. I went to the manufacturer. I found the guy and they said he had it. I bought it on eBay. It showed up. 8 shelves. It wasn't 9. I was like, come on, man. And I even told him I tried to return it. He goes, well, I'll give you a $20 credit. Don't return it. And I was like, dude, I have no reason to have this. And then he wrote back to me, and they're only $50 each. And then he writes back, I bought 2. And he goes, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a $50 credit and just sell it to your friends, or like, do you have a neighbor or someone you want to sell it to, or someone? I'm like, fine. It's like, I'll just keep it. Like, that's how little he wanted me to return it. I was like, oh, fine, I'll just keep it. And I like donated it, and so I got a $50 credit. I kept looking, and finally, this has been going on for 3 months. I found the shelf that's the same size, same dimensions, close to the same color. And it fitted so well that my own family didn't even know I put it up. Like, no one noticed. Like, you didn't notice. My own family, they're like, oh yeah. I didn't even think no one noticed it.
See, it's like kind of become like an in-joke on my streams about like I'll mention something from a system, or someone will say like, hey, have you seen this or whatever? And I'll just like look over here and like pull the book out or whatever.
That's what I am. Ask a system. Ask a game. I have it.
Yeah, like the desk I've got. So like these are giveaways and stuff I'm doing for the Dungeon Jam I was running. I've got like Merkborg and like a whole bunch of old school essential stuff over here. But the thing that a lot of people don't know is that underneath the desk, I've got a whole other row of like zines and other stuff down here. And it's just the chaos of being a writer.
Yes. And that's why I got this one. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to write it ever, but to eat the right, because the most beautiful layout. And actually,
and the page, the four edges, the four edges are pink.
I know. Look at that. I do gold. They did red. That was brilliant. I was like, okay, I might have to copy that. I've never seen. You can do any color. It's just a color. You can do anything you want. Like, I actually.
See, Steven, if you hadn't given away your shelf thing, what you should have done is just secretly add another set of shelves every once in a while, and just do it over and over until someone comments. Be like, how many shelves of RPG books does Steven have to add before people are like, your wall has been.
Well, I only have room for one more. Because I have a desk over here, so there's only. And then
do a short video where you like just show the evolution as it grows, like by playing multiple videos
time
of you.
Lapse.
Yeah, time lapse.
It's too late now. But there's no more room in my office because there's a window there and a desk here, so I have room for one more, and then I'm done. But I do like it now because I got my books right behind me. I got the Roll for Combat's literally right in the frame, so now I have those. But you can name a book. I pretty much I do the same thing. People like name a book and I pull it out. I have almost everything. I have all the new ones. I have older ones. You can't see it, but my room is covered in bookshelves, and they're very deep. They're like 2 feet deep. So I have a lot of books. We need
to get you streamer lights now.
What's that?
Since you're coming up on 20K, so you need to get the streamer lights going on now. You see how I got the blue
lights? I know. Well, my background is, look how close I am to the wall, because everyone else has that long hall, and then they have the streamer lights, and I might do streamer lights. They're pretty cool. Here, you want to see something else I found when I was cleaning out my desk?
Okay. Wait, your camera's following you?
Yeah, my camera follows me.
What? That's wild. Hi. Okay. What? Okay.
Woo!
There you go.
You don't have a camera that follows you wherever you go?
No. My camera does not. I have to tilt things like this if I want it to follow me. And then I move.
You're not cool, takes a while. You're just not cool like me.
That is so funny.
You gotta get cooler. I turned that on by accident. It takes hand command, so I must have done the hand command. Like, you could tell it what to do with your hands, and I accidentally turned it on, so it follows me. It's not supposed to do.
Oh, that's great.
So check this out. I found this folder, and then inside this folder, I was thinking of doing a whole thing of this. My original.
Oh, your original character sheets?
Yes, and some of these are ancient. Look at it. Like
oh yeah, wait, you gotta put that sketch up to the camera. Yeah.
Like Death Ray. Wait, there we go.
Yes.
Look at that. It's like the dragon breathing on his face. And then
did he get killed by a dragon breathing on his face? Is that why?
No, it's just for fun. And,
okay.
and then that's mine. But then I have my friends. These are my friends' character sheets. Wait, I got one here that's pretty funny. Some of my friends had some pretty funny pictures. Like, this is always fun when you get to see your friends' pictures back in the when they were kids. Like, what is going on with that guy? I don't know, but it looks like he's having some fun.
That's not a pear-shaped body. That's like a butternut squash-shaped
And
body.
then here's all like the notes. Look at this. We still got the original notes. Oh, look at this one. This one's a great one. Is that a wizard? Could you tell?
It looks like a wizard. I see the moon and the star on Persilius's hat.
Persilius's. That's not mine. These are my friends. Here's another one. Just check this guy out. Is that the rock monster? What is that guy?
I don't know. Yeah, is it like the thing?
Oh, well, this is what they got weird. My dad's a dentist, so they started to name all their characters after teeth. So this guy is named Molar. That's Molar.
There you go.
And this one is
bicuspid or something.
You got it. That's bicuspid. Look.
Whoa!
I
just guessed it in advance.
Oh, look at that! And it looks like got a little tooth body. Wait, can you guess what the next one is?
Is it canine?
Incisor?
It is. Oh, there is an incisor in here somewhere. But no, it's not canine. It's incisor. But check this out. I got one that ups it all. Look at the original.
Oh wow!
That is like, and it's in good shape too. Look at that.
Yeah, right.
And these you never can find. That's super.
I tell you what you ought to do. Here's a real easy Battlezoo thing for you guys some month. Is just have whatever artist you're working with reinterpret those as monsters, and these are Steven's original like characters as battles of monsters.
That's easy for me to do. Lord knows I got a lot of those. Wait, let's see. We have bicuspid, molar. I thought there was an incisor. I guess it's just those two. I guess they didn't go full in on the joke. Oh no, here it is. Incisor. This is incisor. This guy.
There you go.
They did go. I thought there was one more. There was a party of three. You know.
Oh, that's great.
We're not very intelligent. we weren't the sharpest knives in the drawer back then. So, but yes.
Well, I'll let you guys get back to your stream and everything. But yeah, thanks for thanks for having me on. And
yeah, thanks for coming on to talk about Stormlight. That was some good information.
Oh wait, give me a sec. I gotta.
Oh, give me a sec. Oh,
I gotta.
He's got to remove you from.
Oh, yeah,
well, I gotta organize this. I don't want to mess this up.
I can't leave until Steven gets all of his stuff put away.
Otherwise, it will like change where things are. So it'll all get messed up.
OBS is a whole other nightmare.
Ugh.
See, that's what I need next. I need a different chair. I need something like that.
Oh, these chairs are great. This chair is this one. My chair fell apart, and I bought this. This is kind of the new one. Everyone has this one. What makes it so good?
I have something similar.
It has. This is a magnet. How about that?
Yeah, this thing is a magnet. That's similar. It's a different brand, but it's this weird magnet.
Yeah,
that's super over-engineered. This is way more chair than I need by far.
Yeah,
mine just has straps.
Yeah, they don't do that. I know. The straps were annoying because they broke, but now it's all magnets, and it's worth it because the whole thing. Even check this out. Even the arms are magnets. Like everything's a magnet. So you can customize the whole chair.
Yeah, mine are bolt-ons.
Yeah, you see? The chair technology has increased tenfold.
I got this chair as a wedding gift, and I was afraid to ask how much it was because I think I would cry if I found out. So I still don't know. But it is a chair that has like 20 knobs that all do weird things that I don't need.
Anything you use that much, you go. I have a long story. I have a big thing on this. I talk about this with everyone, especially when they buy computers. I'm like, if you're going to be using a chair 10 hours a day, every day, all year, you buy the $500 chair. You buy the $1,000 chair. Like, you don't buy the $10 chair. Like, you get the best, most expensive chair you can find. Because
this is the chair that I use on Wednesdays for like 2 to 3 hours, on Tuesdays for like 1 hour, on Saturday for like an hour.
Well, for you. For me, I sit on this chair all day.
Oh, yeah, fair.
Yeah. Whenever I'm doing layout work, I'm on my chair like 8 hours a day.
Right. So you spend,
Well, I got told by one of my buddies who's a physical therapist. They were like, "How long are you sitting in your chair? How high do you have it up? You ever feel like your feet get like really, really hot at night?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, why?" And they were like, "It sounds like you're cutting off circulation to your feet by the way that you're sitting." I was like, "Oh." okay, I should get something different, huh? And so the next big expense I'm dropping is I've already got a chair saved that I'm like dropping $1,000 on that.
Yeah, so you definitely want to do that, and then even because that was the other thing I hate, because everyone asks me to help them buy their computers, and I'm always like, they're always like, we'll buy a computer that is not top of the line, and these are people who use their computers all day. You know, they'll buy like a mid tier, and I'm like, no.
But does it have to be top of the line depending on what your use is? Obviously, you want to buy one that's going to last for a while, but you don't need the best graphics card if you're not going to play games.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about top of the line as in speed for utility for what they're doing. And
like for me, you want to get the most memory that it can have.
Exactly.
You always want to have the most memory that it can have. That's like one of the number one things, because I am always multitasking, even if the processes I do are not individually taxing. If I do not have the most memory, I will crash my computer.
That's exactly what happened to me, because I was like, my computer's been getting really slow. And I was like, okay, I think it's time to add more memory. I have 128 megs already, or gigs, whatever.
Awesome.
And I'm like, can I go higher? I'm like, I don't even know if I can go above that. So I was like, crap, I might be at the max already. I might have to get a brand new computer at this point. I have 7 hard drives and something like 24 terabytes. So the thought of me buying a new computer is terrifying, because I have no idea how I'm going to move everything over. It's actually a real problem, but that's a whole other story. What is going on with your? What are you going to be in Destructo Boy? You're going to be at Gen Con?
So that's the plan. As of right now, so I've already got the press badge and everything like that. But right now it's just vagabond Kickstarter stuff. I got meetings with dice manufacturers today. That's supposed to go live in like late June, early July. I was trying to get it out of the way of DC-20 and before Stormlight, because I was like, we're not gonna look like, I don't want to fight for paychecks here.
Interesting.
So whenever hopefully the funds come through, and like going to Gen Con and everything. Other than that, I am just kind of focusing on a bunch of projects. I went from running a whole bunch of character options to now I'm like diving super hardcore into like adventure writing stuff now, from kind of seemingly out of nowhere. And yeah, I'm just kind of, it's weird. I mean, I know you know like this side of it, Steven, but it's just like, you know, whenever you're doing the logistics side of a Kickstarter and trying to organize, all right, where are we getting it fulfilled? How do we get international? Where do we get this made? You know, and that's I'm in that phase, and it's insane. But yeah, and people can check out my channel, see what's up. But
yes, I keep using the same. I'm kind of past that, thank God. So it's all the same people. So they don't even know. Like my distributor was like, hey, are you getting books sent to us? Because we just got a call saying they're showing up in 3 weeks. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. You'll be getting like 6,000 books, so get ready for that.
I was about to say, I did actually see a Battlezoo book the other day in my FLGS.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I went in there and saw one, and I was like, oh yeah, that's Mark and Stevens. Hey, what do you know? Like,
take a picture, man. Send that to me. Well, we're about, I want to jinx it. It's a very long, it's hard to, I'm in most places, and we're in like Books A Million, a few others. We're about to get into Barnes & Noble. You can order us. Like, you can order at Barnes & Noble anytime, but we're going to actually get on the shelf, and that's really hard. Like, really hard to get into Barnes & Noble. If you're not, there's a very few people who can get in there, and I won't get into it, but basically they've gone all in on manga, and manga has taken over all the shelves. So now their role-playing space is very tiny. So, and manga took over. And so it's really basically how much shelf space they have. And they also overbought during the pandemic, and now they're just trying to get rid of inventory. But I think with the new 5th edition, they're going to start buying up again. And I literally sent them everything I have. And I mean everything, like every plushie, every book, everything. It was like 4 boxes like for them to get it. I'm like, they're like, I don't know how much to send. So like, send your best stuff. I'm like, screw it, I'm sending everything. Like, just take it all. So, but meeting with them, and hopefully we'll get into Barnes and Noble, and then I'm kind of done. That's kind of the last. That's kind of it. I mean, the super big box stores like Target and stuff, you kind of don't want to get into because that can cost you money. It actually can cost you more than, I won't get into it, but you have to fulfill thousands and thousands of books, and then they
can return them at any time.
Yeah.
So
I've got a really funny story about that. And then I'm going to piece out. But there was one time I was walking by the Target over here in Tulsa, and I saw that they had like the D&D books, and then like 2 months later I came back, and it was like this another copy of Tasha's that was sitting there, and it was like I was like, did that book even like move? So I just like the next time I came back, I was like, okay, I brought like a little piece of Scotch tape and stuck it to the back of the book, and I was like, I wonder if that copy's still going to be here whenever we come back next time. I came back and that same copy is still sitting there on the shelf, and I'm like, what? And then 2 months later, same copy sitting there, and I'm like, I don't know that they're really moving. Like, I don't know. Like, I just don't think many people go to Target for TTRPG stuff. But yeah.
Well, they WotC's different because they can lump it in with their toys, which they do sell at Target.
That's true. Yeah.
So it's a little different, and they're in a different category. So they're not book sellers; they're toy sellers, and they also have books, so they're able to get in there. But and also WotC doesn't care. Like, they're one of those companies that they're like, do you want the books? Like, this is what happens when things don't sell. They say you have two options: we either return it to you or we destroy it. And I'm like, just destroy it. Like like a lot of these companies will just say destroy it because it's not even worth it for them to get it back. So,
or we throw it into an Ollie's in 3 months.
That they can only do with their own inventory. They can't do that with others. So they
okay.
They were doing that because they were selling warehouses, and they got rid of a lot of warehouses last quarter or last 2 quarters, and they had to get rid of the warehouses, and they could either destroy the product or sell it to Ollie's, and it's actually costs a lot of money to destroy product. It's not free.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually cheaper for them to sell it at Ollie's for like $1 a product than to destroy it. And it's literally cheaper for them. I always think about this when I had to fill up a big hole in my backyard, and the gardener came back to me, and it was like hundreds of dollars. And I was like, I thought it was supposed to be dirt cheap. Dirt ain't cheap, baby.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. I'm like, dirt is pretty expensive. And I found out the hard way. There's nothing is cheap anymore, man. Dirt costs money. Throwing things out costs money. Everything costs money. So...
yeah, back whenever the OGL mess was kind of going on, there was like, I got a leak about like, there were like 3 warehouses in America that like were just stocked full of like Spelljammer, the Dragonlance stuff, and Radiant Citadel. Like those 3 books in particular were like heavily backstocked, and like they couldn't get them out of their warehouses.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever I heard about like the Wally's thing going out, I was like, oh, so that was okay. I wanted so bad. I was like, somebody get me a picture. Like, if you work at this warehouse and you just so happen to see this, someone let me know. Never happened. But then whenever I saw that hitting the shelves, I was just like, oh, okay. So this is what happened with it. Yeah, but anyways, well, yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. And I'm gonna go walk my dog and try to figure out what else I'm doing with my day.
Sounds good.
Well, you can wrap it up, and I don't know what we're doing next week.
I can wrap it up. In that case, everyone, until next time, if you want to battle the zoo, you have to roll for combat, and we'll see you then.
Maybe next week, maybe not. I don't know. I won't be here.